I'm 75 years old. I thought I had time, and that was my biggest mistake. I'm not saying that to sound dramatic. The plain truth. The kind that settles in your chest when you wake up earlier than you want and realize there's more behind you than ahead. I'm sitting at my kitchen table as I say this. The same table I've had for almost 30 years. One chair across from me is empty. It's been empty a long time now. I'm not telling this story to be admired. I don't need understanding or forgiveness or reassurance. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left, and because silence starts to feel heavier than honesty at this age. Most mornings are quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. There's a difference. Peace has warmth in it. This kind of quiet feels more like a pause that never quite ends. I make my coffee the same way every day, even though my hands shake more than they used to. I sit down, take a sip, and for a moment I forget what day it is. That happens more often now. The days blur together when there's no one waiting for you in them. I spend a lot of time thinking about time. Funny how that works. When you're young, time feels like something you spend without checking the balance. When you're old, you count the way people count pills or dollars or breaths. I didn't always think like this. I used to believe time was generous. Endless, almost. There was always next year, or after things settled down, or once I got through this busy stretch. I told myself that so often it became part of how I made decisions. Not consciously, just quietly in the background. I didn't wake up one day and decide to waste my life. That's important to say. I made sensible choices, responsible ones. The kind people gnawed at when you explain them. I worked hard. I showed up. I did what I was supposed to do, or at least what I thought I was supposed to do. And for a long time, that felt like enough. Right now, at 75, my world is smaller. Not in a tragic way, just reduced. Fewer phone calls. Fewer reasons to leave the house. Fewer people who still remember the earlier versions of me. When you reach this age, you start to disappear in little ways before you disappear completely. People don't ask your opinion as much. They don't need you the way they once did. Even your stories feel like they belong to someone else. You start sentences with, "I remember when," and you can see the listener gently drift away, even if they're trying to be polite. I don't blame them. I understand. I used to be on the other side of that conversation. There's a mirror in the hallway that I avoid most days. Not because I hate what I see, but because I don't recognize it right away. The face looking back at me feels like a summary. Lines where laughter and worry used to pass through. Eyes that still see clearly enough, but carry too much history. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, when did this happen? And then I remember, it didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly, quietly, in pieces so small I didn't think they mattered. That's how most mistakes are made, I think. Not with a bang, just with a series of laters. Later I'll call. Later I'll visit. Later I'll slow down. Later I'll say what I mean. Later always felt reasonable. If you had met me in my 30s, you would have thought I had it together. I had a steady job, a routine, a sense of purpose, at least on paper. I woke up early, came home tired, and told myself that tired meant useful, that being exhausted was proof I was doing something right. I remember sitting in traffic some evenings, watching the sun sink behind the buildings, feeling a dull ache in my chest that I couldn't quite explain. It wasn't sadness exactly, more like a quiet question I didn't want to hear. Is this it? Is this what I'll remember? I didn't stay with that feeling long. I turned on the radio. I focused on the next task. There was always something that needed doing, something that felt urgent enough to drown out the questions. I told myself there would be time to reflect later, time to reconnect, time to rest. I wasn't careless with money. I wasn't reckless with my health, at least not in obvious ways. But I was careless with moments, with conversations, with people who loved me and didn't demand much in return except my presence. Presence felt optional back then, something you could postpone. Now, presence is all that's left, and there's no one around to offer it to. I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying my life was empty. It wasn't. There were good years, laughter, pride, small victories that mattered at the time. But when you reach the end, You don't measure your life the way you thought you would. You don't tally accomplishments. You don't replay promotions. You don't linger on the things that once impressed other people. You remember voices. You remember faces. You remember moments you didn't stay for. I remember saying, "I'll be there next time," more than I remember actually being there. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes from realizing no one is waiting for you to change, that the chances to make things different have quietly expired, not because anyone is angry, just because life moved on without you noticing. That's where I am now. I'm not angry at my younger self. He was doing his best with what he understood. He thought time was on his side. He thought effort would make up for absence. He thought love could be stored and retrieved later. He was wrong. I don't say that with bitterness, just clarity. At 75, clarity comes easily. It's everything else that's gone. If you're listening to this, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm just telling you where I ended up and how quietly I got here. This is only the beginning of the story. The part where I'm sitting here now, looking back, realizing that the biggest mistake of my life wasn't something I did. It was something I kept putting off. I was in my early 20s when I first started believing that life would eventually slow down on its own. I didn't think of it as a belief back then. It just felt like common sense. Everyone around me was busy. Everyone was rushing. That was adulthood, or so I thought. You worked hard now so you could breathe later. That was the deal. At least, that's what we told each other. I got my first real job at 23. Nothing special. A desk, a phone, a stack of papers that never seemed to shrink. I remember being proud of that desk. Proud of having somewhere I was expected to be every morning. My father shook my hand when I told him I'd been hired. That meant more to me than the job itself. I learned quickly how to look busy, how to stay late, even when nothing urgent was happening, how to say yes before anyone finished asking. It felt like momentum, like I was building something solid. I met my wife a few years later. She laughed easily back then, had a way of listening that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We talked about small things at first. Movies, food, what our apartments looked like. Ordinary conversations that didn't feel important at the time. I remember one evening clearly. We were sitting on the floor of her place because she didn't have much furniture yet. She asked me where I saw myself in 10 years. I gave her an answer about stability, about progress, about being set. She nodded. She didn't argue. But there was a pause before she spoke again. A pause I didn't understand until much later. We married when I was 30. It felt like the natural next step. I loved her, I truly did, but love, for me, was something steady and dependable, something that fit into a schedule. I didn't know yet that love also needs room, needs time that isn't squeezed between obligations. The years that follow were full. That's the word people use. Full, busy, productive. I advanced at work, took on more responsibility, more hours, more reasons to be tired. Each promotion came with a quiet promise to myself that this was temporary, that once I reached a certain point, I'd ease up. I said that point was 40, then 45, then after this next project. At home, life continued without waiting for me. Dinners happened whether I was there or not. Conversations started and ended before I walked through the door. My wife stopped asking me what time I'd be home. That wasn't a fight. It was an adjustment. I didn't notice when adjustment turned into distance. There were moments, small ones. A sigh when I said I'd be late again. A look that lingered just a second too long when I left the room. I saw them, but I explained them away. Stress, fatigue, life. I told myself that being reliable mattered more than being present. That providing was its own kind of love. It's strange what you normalize when everyone around you is doing the same thing. In my 40s, my days blurred together. Alarm, commute, work, commute, dinner, sleep, repeat. On weekends, I caught up on errands instead of people. Rest felt unearned. Sitting still made me uneasy. Sometimes my wife would suggest a short trip, just a few days, nothing extravagant. I'd look at the calendar and shake my head. Not right now. I'd say, maybe later this year. later became a familiar word in our house. I don't remember the exact moment she stopped suggesting. I just know one day I realized it had been a long time since she'd asked. That realization didn't change anything. That's what hurts to admit. I noticed the distance, and I still didn't act. I thought awareness was enough. I thought there would be a moment when everything slowed down naturally and we'd reconnect. I didn't understand that distance doesn't stay still. It grows, quietly, without announcements. Around that time, my mother got sick. Not suddenly, gradually. Doctor visits, medications, adjustments. I visited when I could, called when I remembered, always meaning to do more. I remember standing in her kitchen one afternoon, watching her struggle to open a jar. I offered to help. She smiled and handed it to me. "You're always in such a rush," she said. Not accusing, just observing. I laughed it off, said work was busy. She nodded. She always nodded. She died 2 years later. I wasn't there when it happened. I was in a meeting. I stepped out to take the call, stood in a hallway with beige walls, and felt something shift inside me that I didn't have words for yet. At the funeral, people talk about how devoted she was, how much she loved her family. I stood there thinking about unopened jars and unanswered calls, thinking about how patient she'd been with my absence. Grief has a way of sharpening things for a moment. After her death, I promised myself I'd be more present, that I'd make time, that I wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. That promise lasted a few weeks, maybe a few months. Life has gravity. It pulls you back into old patterns if you let it. By the time I reached my 50s, my marriage felt quiet, not hostile, not broken. Just then, conversations stayed practical. Schedules, groceries, bills. We lived alongside each other more than with each other. I told myself this was normal, that long marriages settled into routines, that passion faded and companionship took its place. But companionship requires attention, too, something I was still rationing. Looking back now, I can see how reasonable every decision felt in the moment. That's the dangerous part. Nothing screamed mistake. Nothing demanded immediate correction. It was all small choices, small delays, small absences. They added up while I wasn't watching. By my late 50s, the damage had already been done. I just didn't know how to name it yet. Nothing had collapsed. No dramatic endings. No door slammed. From the outside, my life still looked intact. That's what made it so easy to ignore the unease that followed me around like a quiet ache. I was still working, still dependable, still the person people came to when something needed handling. That role had become my identity. Without it, I wasn't sure who I was supposed to be. At home, the house felt larger than it used to, not because we'd moved, but because fewer things filled the space between us. We spoke kindly, politely, like people who knew each other well, but no longer shared much. There's a particular sadness in that kind of politeness. It means you're careful. It means you don't want to disturb what little balance remains. I started noticing how often my wife spent time alone, reading, gardening, visiting friends without me. She stopped asking if I wanted to come along, not out of spite, out of habit. One evening, I walked into the living room and saw her sitting quietly, holding a photograph. I asked her what she was looking at. She said, "Us, when we were young." I waited for her to say more. She didn't. That moment stayed with me longer than I expected. But even then, I didn't do anything about it. I told myself I was tired, that I'd talk to her another day. Another day came and went like so many others. Around that time, my health started sending small signals. Nothing serious. A bit of fatigue, a stiffness in the mornings. The doctor suggested slowing down, less stress, more rest. I nodded. I didn't change much. Work still came first. Not because anyone forced me to, but because it was familiar, predictable. It didn't ask me to feel deeply or face what I'd neglected. I told myself I was being practical, that feelings could wait. They didn't. The slow cost of my choices wasn't measured in years, but in moments I missed without realizing they were important. Birthdays marked with quick phone calls. Anniversaries acknowledged with hurried dinners. Conversations cut short because I was distracted or exhausted. I remember once my wife tried to tell me something about her day. Something small. I was half listening, checking my watch, thinking about an email I needed to send. She stopped mid-sentence. I looked up and asked her to continue. She said, "It's not important." She was wrong. It was important. I just didn't know how much until it was too late. That phrase, "it's not important," became common. Each time, it created a little more distance. Each time, I let it. Friends drifted away too. Not all at once. Gradually. Invitations I declined. Calls I meant to return. People get tired of waiting. They move on. At first, I told myself I preferred solitude, that I liked my routines, that I didn't need much. That was partly true, but it was also a defense. Admitting loneliness felt like admitting failure. The real cost of delay is that it dulls your sense of urgency. You stop feeling the weight of what's slipping away, because it happens inch by inch. Then something happened that forced me to pay attention. My wife got sick. Not a sudden crisis, just a diagnosis that came with a long list of changes. Appointments, medications, uncertainty. I sat beside her in doctors' offices, listening to words I didn't fully understand, feeling a cold fear settle in my chest. For the first time in a long while, work didn't matter. None of it did. I wished I could trade every late night, every missed dinner, for a few more ordinary afternoons with her. She needed me then, truly needed me, and I was there. I showed up. I drove her to appointments. I cooked. I sat with her in silence. But something had shifted. My presence felt new to her, like something she wasn't used to anymore. One night, as we sat together in the dim light of the bedroom, she said, "I'm glad you're here." The way she said it wasn't comforting. It was careful, as if she wasn't sure how long it would last. That hurt more than any accusation could have. I realized then that being there during a crisis doesn't erase years of absence. It helps, but it doesn't rewrite the past. Trust isn't rebuilt in moments of urgency. It's built slowly through consistency, through showing up when nothing is wrong. I stayed home more after that, reduced my hours, tried to be present. But presence, when it comes late, carries the weight of everything it missed. She appreciated my efforts. I know she did, but there was a sadness in her eyes that never quite faded, a tiredness that had nothing to do with illness. The cost of waiting became clearer each day, not as regret yet, but as a quiet understanding. Some things can't be rushed back into place once they've been neglected. Time doesn't punish you loudly. It just stops offering chances. The turning point didn't come with a dramatic moment. No final speech. No sudden realization that tied everything together neatly. It came on an ordinary morning. I woke up before my wife, the way I usually did by then. The house was quiet, except for the sound of the heater clicking on and off. I sat at the edge of bed for a while, listening to her breathe. That sound had become something I paid attention to, a habit born out of fear. When I reached out to touch her shoulder, she didn't stir. I told myself not to panic. I told myself she was sleeping deeply. I told myself there would be time in a minute. There wasn't. She died that morning. Peacefully, they said, as if that word could soften what followed. I sat there holding her hand long after I knew it was too late, trying to memorize the weight of it, the shape of it, because I subtly understood that memory was all I was going to have left. In the days after, people were kind. They brought food. They told stories. They said all the right things. I nodded. I thanked them. I listened. At night, when the house emptied out again, the silence felt different, heavier, final. I replayed years in my head. Not the big events. The small ones. The evenings I came home late. The conversations I postponed. The trips we never took because I was waiting for the right time. I realized something then that I wish I'd understood earlier. There's no moment when life clears its throat and says, now you can stop and pay attention. That moment doesn't come. You have to choose it. Over and over again. After the funeral, my days lost their structure. Retirement had already thinned my schedule, but now even the small anchors were gone. No shared meals. No one asking how my day went. No quiet presence across the room. People checked in at first, then less often. That's not cruelty. That's how life works. Everyone else is still moving forward. I found myself talking out loud sometimes. Just small comments, observations, the weather, the news. It startled me the first time I noticed I was doing it. I didn't miss her only in the big ways. I missed her in the details, in the way she folded towels, in how she hummed without realizing it, in the way she always noticed things I overlooked. I tried to remember when we last laughed together without strain. I couldn't pinpoint it. That hurt more than knowing the exact date. That's when the full weight of it settled in. I hadn't lost her all at once. I'd been losing her slowly for years, by choosing other things, by assuming there would always be more time to fix what I was neglecting. Now there was no fixing left to do. At this age, you don't think much about what you'll become. You think about what will remain, and that's a sobering thought. You realize how little of you actually stays behind. There are no rewinds, no apologies that change outcomes, only acceptance. I live with gratitude. 2. That matters to say. I'm grateful for the years we did share, for the life we built, for the memories that still visit me when I least expect them. But gratitude doesn't cancel sorrow. They live together, side by side. I'm 75 now. My body reminds me of that every morning. My hands ache. My memory slips. I move slower. I don't pretend otherwise. I don't have grand plans. I have days, and I treat them carefully now. Not because I'm wiser, but because I finally understand how fragile they are. Sometimes I sit by the window in the late afternoon and watch people walk by. Couples, parents, people glued to their phones, people in a hurry. They look the way I must have looked once. I don't judge them. I recognize them. If there's anything I wish I had known, it's this. Time doesn't feel valuable when you have plenty of it. It only becomes precious when it's almost gone. You don't feel the cost of delay right away. You feel it later, when the bill arrives all at once. I can't tell you what to do with your life. That's not my place. All I can do is tell you what I learned too late. Presence matters more than intention. Showing up matters more than planning to. And love doesn't wait patiently forever. I thought I had time. I was wrong. A quiet request. If this meant something to you, if it stirred a thought you've been putting off, you don't need to do anything dramatic. Just notice it. Sit with it. That might be enough. And if you feel like sharing what came up for you while listening, I'll read it. I still value connection, even now. I don't know how much time I have left. None of us really do. I just know I don't want to spend what remains pretending anymore.